are
well,
you,
all
doctor?
well. How are you, Jim? All well?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, yeah. So your smile tells it all. The smiling Jim is all well.
That's good, sir. That's good.
I
How are
was
things? How are things at your end?
yeah.
So, I mean, the status quo is maintained, and I don't think that's bad in the sense that, I mean, so the society where I'm living, so we've got around total of around 8 to 10 cases, I think, till date.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's what it is, and it's still holding on. So, I think, I mean, that's what it is. So, I mean, we are there only with the status quo maintained on that, which I don't think is bad in the sense that the numbers are not increasing that drastically this side, which is good for us.
Well, we tried to open up in various states, and we saw a tremendous spike, and so now we're closing down again. And I think this yo-yo effect is having a very bad psychological effect on us, and we're feeling a little bit helpless right now.
So, Jim, basically, the biggest problem with, I mean, the opening up is not that the opening up per se is not the problem. It is our humans' behavior towards opening up. Because the time things open up, we just throw caution in the wind. So, I mean, it's a simple thing. We need to just get some common sense dragged into our minds that opening is not that we are corona free. And that, I guess, yeah, that I guess no one seems to be understanding. I mean, I don't know why people don't understand that simple, I mean, basic thing. That is that when things open up, that does not mean that the coronavirus has vanished. It is just that you need to be even more cautious. Unfortunately, what I see over a period of time, even through the social media platforms and all that, is that there is this sense of bravado which is going around. Now, there is a very thin line between bravery and stupidity. Unfortunately, I mean, that's what the bottom line is. So you need to be brave, but you don't need to be stupid. You need to be smart.
Yes. And our line is actually much closer to bravery. There's a lot of stupidity and not so much bravery. So,
Yes.
but
So
it
we
is
need to be we need to be very careful because I've seen a lot of posts going around where some people who have recovered, they're writing. I mean, I don't know whether that is real stuff or is it really some handle working somewhere to write their post and all that. I mean, the impression which I get out of it is they're telling people to go out and I mean not be afraid. I would be on the other side telling people that you should be afraid.
yes.
Because if you are afraid, then there is a chance that you will adhere to the guidelines strictly. And if
Yes.
you're not going to be afraid, then I don't think, I mean, you lose the battle there only because you're not bothered.
Well, we have a saying, I don't know if you have a saying in India like this, but we say discretion is the best part of valor. And,
Yes, yes. See,
and
even in battles, the basic dictum is always respect your enemy
I
and
agree.
know your enemy,
Yes.
right? So you need to know your enemy and you need to respect your enemy. No battle can be won without knowing your enemy.
Well, and one of the things that we're running into knowing the enemy is that it's a novel virus. And so we get conflicting information about it. And because
Yes.
people are learning constantly more about it. And so what's told to us at the end of February is not what's told to us at the end of June. And so it's caused a lot of confusion. And I'm only speaking about the United States now, but a lot of people say, well, you told me this, now you're telling me that, forget it. And we throw our hands up.
So, Jim, that is why if it is an evolving situation, we need to understand. We need to. I mean, if I talk about the financial things, maybe you can. I mean, compare it to some kind of a stock market. Now, you can have a lot of assumptions, but apparently, every stock you trade is not going to go up.
That's correct.
So you need to understand. I mean, this is what people need to understand that they see. It's not only for them; they have to be responsible for others also.
Yes.
But I feel that really over a period of time, even in our part of the world, I see, I mean, see, I generally like to have a morning walk or something. I do take all precautions using mask and everything. But what I see all around is people are roaming around, especially the vendors and all who are coming into the society to deliver a lot of things, like I mean the guys who are delivering milk or vegetables. I hardly see a mask, or even if I see a mask, it is on the neck. It's not covering the face. Even the domestic helps which are roaming around, I mean, it just seems that no one is bothered that what is going on. And I'm and my caution or the word of advice to everyone is that if you don't do this, this virus will not go anywhere. The situation will only become from bad to worse.
And we're seeing that.
Yeah.
Because
We're
at this
seeing.
moment we know something about it. It'll continue to change and it'll continue to evolve. And today we may be talking this, tomorrow we may be talking something else.
Yes.
And this is how it is going to go on and on and on. And I mean, unless and until we have a magic bullet or a vaccine, which also doesn't look, I mean, though these all kinds of stupid WhatsApps going around or on social media things going around, we'll have it within 1 month, 2 months. I don't think anything is coming within 1, 2 months. I don't see it coming. And I really would suggest people also not to forward these kind of posts, because they are just going into a situation where they are just giving you a kind of hope where there is no hope. And that is a wrong way of, I mean, projecting science. We should be
Yes.
realistic. Optimism does not mean that we start conjecturing our own stories around science. I don't think that's the way around.
Okay. Everything you're saying certainly adds up and resonates with me. But there still seems to be a great leap from the logic and the truth that I'm hearing from you and the general sense of what's going on for the average United States citizen. Their reality is different from what you're talking about, which seems to me like the truth. The true nature of the beast is that it is changing, and that what we knew in February is not what we know now. And what we know now might not be what we know in September. And we as a society seem to be less than ideal at processing that kind of information. We want simple answers.
Yeah, so what we should always keep the game simple, right? So simple things are easily understood, and all the information should be kept as simple as. And what is so simple about telling people to wear masks? I don't understand. I mean, that's the simplest thing which you can tell. What is more simple than telling people that you have to remain at a distance of at least minimum 2 meters from each other? Is there anything complex in that?
And there's not.
What is more simple than telling people that don't venture out unless and until you're really required to go out? Even if you don't why not dine for a period of a month or 2 months? I mean, see, what is more important? Is life more important, or is wining dining more important?
Yeah. And what Ankit's showing us is that if we did what you're talking about doing, our economy would bounce back. Because
these are all simple things. I mean, I don't understand where is anything complex in that. These are basic steps which each citizen has to do it, right? Because if they don't do it, ultimately we're all going down.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems we have.
There is one more thing. What happens is that if suppose you follow something, if you start doing something, I want to follow you. Maybe you are doing good or bad. So that's happening in India and around the world, because I now since last week I've listening that a lot of people are going on vacations, and I was like, vacations at this point of time? I don't understand. But they're going on vacation. They think that this is a time to fly a charter, and it's a good thing, and we don't have any work, so let's go on.
Just going to the beach. You know, everybody.
So that is what Ankit, we need to understand, and we need to drive home the message again and again. I just don't know why people are being so complacent. I mean, there is nothing to be complacent around. See around what is happening, and the numbers are rising only. I don't think. See, I mean, downplaying this virus and telling that is just a common cold virus, I don't agree with that thought process at all. I believe that we should take things very seriously. and we should not joke around with this virus. I mean, it's not a clown to play around with. It's going to bite.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
we had
bite,
a very famous
you know how
radio,
it goes.
a very famous radio host who would say it's just like the common cold. And lots of people listen to this person saying that. And then we have a president who won't wear a mask in public. And a lot of people see that and think, well, I don't have to wear a mask either. And you say, keep the social distancing, but all the people behind him are shoulder to shoulder. So we're sending the wrong message again and again through our media. And so it seems like a simple thing when you say it, when I'm talking to you, but the message that we're getting is inconsistent with what you're saying. And we see it every day.
Jim, politicians, what I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to comment on the politicians, because I mean, Ankit starts laughing when I talk about politicians, because I mean, he has understood what I feel about politicians. I mean, I unfortunately have the scantest respect for politicians, because when I find them to be, even the educated ones start behaving like idiots when they come on these so-called debates. I'm sorry,
That,
no offense meant to anyone,
no,
but I mean, the educated ones also, I believe once you become a politician, then your education, you basically outgrow your education. You start doing it reverse, right? So if I am a doctor and tomorrow I get into politicians, the first thing I would request is, don't address me like a doctor, because then I'm a politician, I'm not a doctor, right? I will use all kinds of skills to, I mean, kind of buttress whatever my bosses want to say or what, right? So that is something, I mean, politics is a very different game. I don't even want to get into, I mean, commenting about that. But my only thrust is that, see, what you need to understand is, in America also, you have a very good community-based system.
yes,
You live in communities,
yes,
right? Now, what you need to do, I mean, see, whatever the president is signaling or the political parties are signaling, I really believe that there are community leaders in every part of the community, whether they are religious leaders, whether they are socially acceptable leaders. Some are great businessmen, some are people who are doing well in medication, or, I mean, medicine, or I mean, the entertainment industry. You need to get those people to speak out. I mean, that's the only way of, I mean, driving the message home.
I
So
agree.
I believe that if America is a country which lives more on the community side, so you have a lot of community segregation. If the country is able, because see, ultimately at the end of the day, you will have 50% people even not looking at your president, because I mean, they're not bothered. One, and one, they may not agree with what all he's saying. I'm not saying 50%, maybe more, maybe less, but there are a sizable number of people who don't take him very seriously. So
Yes, and
even if you have to sidestep him, even if his posturing is not right, that does
Yeah.
not mean that our common sense goes out of the window. No? Our common sense has to be intact. See, we
I
have to
agree.
survive. That is why I'm repeatedly telling that it's very important that we understand these are basic things. If we are able to understand and drive home the message, I think our job is done. But if we are not able to drive home the message, then I think we are gone. We're going to have a long, long haul. Unless and until God does some magic, or the virus itself decides that, okay, I've had enough of humans, let me find another species.
Yeah, we're an inexhaustible supply right now, and but I love what you're saying about being community based, because we are seeing that as well. You know, it's not all gloom and doom here, because we're seeing, for example, governors, the governor of California, the governor of New York, have become very prominent people because they have taken commonsensical steps, and they have been become real leaders when the leadership is lacking. Other leadership, the mayors of Atlanta, the mayors of Houston, the mayors of many countries are becoming the leaders in their communities. And they are telling us, stay home, shelter in place. Do not go out on the 4th of July and light off fireworks. Stay home. And so that message is getting out in certain communities, but it's not, you know, all across the United States. It's here and there. And with a virus, a pandemic like this, it it doesn't really help if it's only here or there. It's got to be everywhere if we're going to contain it. So we have to jump from the community level.
We need to understand that. See, what is happening at the moment is, I do understand everyone is staying at home. They're getting frustrated by staying at home because people are not used to it. They were kind of used to a certain kind of lifestyle, which is not happening.
Correct.
But then we have to weigh our decisions wisely. We need to understand what is paramount to us. Is living paramount to us, or sunbathing, or going into to a beach paramount to us? I mean, there is the answer.
Or going to a bar.
Yeah. So that's what important.
And Ben from the UK was on telling us that, you know, you start at a bar, you start 2 meters, and then pretty soon you don't even know what 2 meters is anymore, and you're a meter away. And
yes, it's not practically possible in a bar. How are you going to do that? After 3 drinks down, your hands will be over the other person's shoulder, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, so where is the camaraderie comes in?
And Dr. Tulla, there is one more article what I was reading on one of the newspapers, and it says that in US the distance is 2 meters, in China the distance is half meter, in Japan the distance is 4 meters, in India 6 meters. So every country have a different norm of how much distance is social distancing is all about. And I also don't understand why they have different parameters.
Some things are extremely stupid. What you need to understand is that, see, I'll tell you how do we decide on this distance, right? Now, this is also very objective. I mean, this is a very, I'm giving you an objective, kind of thrust on that, but it's a very subjective phenomenon. Yes. So what they are saying at the moment is, what I mean by they are is all these CDCs and these people who are WHO and all that. So I'm referring them specifically as these, because again, they have also shamed themselves endlessly, right? Yeah. Because due to their previous action. So the whole thing around is that what they are looking at is at a virus which is going to spread, right? Now the question is, what is my sphere where the chances of the virus infecting me are going to be the greatest? That is going to be when I speak or when I sneeze, right? Now, when I sneeze, the maximum burst of the virus is going to come from me, right? If I am infected with or in corona, or I am a carrier of corona, right? Now, if you're in an environment which is an outside environment, the air factors and everything will also have a play, because the particles will be suspended in air, and you will. So, I mean, honestly speaking, the further the distance is between us, the chances are the less we'll get infected, right? So places where they're telling half meter, 1 meter, they are all based on presumption, right? So I don't think there is anything known as a safe distance. This is just this is just an alibi created that this is distance, that is distance. But my suggestion would be to remain as far from each other as possible. So in a context to that, if it is 2 meters, it is better. If it is 3 meters, even more better.
Much better, yeah.
5 meters, even better. 6 meters, excellent.
There's no
now, sir, on that, I have one more question, or maybe a discussion. That I was seeing that policy on the aircraft, that what should be a policy and how people are sitting in the aircraft. Okay, and they said that no one will sit in between. That's fine. Okay. Yeah. What about you are sitting on the front seat and I'm just sitting on the back seat? We are just sitting. It's just like this distance.
See, the problem is, one need to understand is the air circulation within the aircraft, right?
Yeah.
So let's presume you sneeze. I mean, there's a contained chamber, though they say that, okay, there is every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the air, fresh air is released in. But what about that 15, 20 minutes? So that risk is always going to be there. See, we need to understand that, that is why every advisory which is coming is telling that you should fly out if it is a dire necessity. So, that's common sense. I don't think there is any rocket science. See, we need to understand the best sense is always common sense.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that is now, I guess, people, I don't know what they're doing and what they're thinking, but I will presume they're not thinking with their, sane minds on this. I do
I
agree
know
that
people have taken it
there are
also,
challenges.
so everybody is
There are challenges. Economic challenges are there, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that everyone should sit inside. But what I'm trying to tell you is that people who can afford to sit in their houses, they definitely should sit.
certainly.
People who are
I agree with
who are hand to mouth don't have a choice, then you can't say anything about them. But what they
you.
should do is that they should take at least the employers who under whom they are employed, they should ensure that they are taking basic precautions which are required.
I completely
We
agree.
need to be
And
responsible. That is what it is.
and same thing happening not in the aircraft but on the trains and on the buses as well, because people are
Yes.
sitting shoulder to shoulder, and that's
Yes.
how you spread viruses. But what I've realized, Dr. Tulla, is that I spoke to a lot of my people who work with me and who work within our family, and they are going to the native places. Mostly them are villages and modern towns and upcoming towns. And what they have done is it's common sense that whoever is coming from some city, maybe Delhi, Bombay, because it's a small town, people know that someone is coming from Delhi and Bombay. So they have a dharamshala or a lodge house where they are keeping them for like 14 days, and after and giving them all the food and whatever it is they require. And if someone found positive, they are going to the hospital, or else you can now go back to the family members. That's
So
happening in
this
India.
is excellent. This is basic common sense,
Yeah,
which
basic common.
generally governments did not see that coming, but then
Yeah,
people have realized and they've done it on.
yeah,
So see,
they've done.
ultimately, I mean, expecting governments to do everything.
That is good.
I
Yeah,
mean, we are being too judgmental on governments also. I mean, let us be very candid. I mean, if it was not much so much media glare, I don't think the governments would have been. I mean, honestly speaking, it's too much. It's too much asking too much from our elected.
and also, sir, what I realize is that we have to take a pen and paper and watch the news and give the points to everyone, because everyone wants their brownie points. Now they've started plasma bank. Now they're doing this and now they're doing that. But no one talks about the real problem and what is the solution, because it's been around 4 months now and we don't have a solution to tackle it out. I'm not saying plasma banks are against something, but there should be a proper plan to track it out. And now we are doing as much amount of tests as we were not doing that earlier. That's the state of the government.
So that is what still I would give it to them, that at least they're trying whatever they are trying, right? But then again, the responsibility direly and squarely rests on our shoulders also, how we are contributing as a responsible citizen also. Unfortunately, what has happened is as soon as the lockdowns are knocked off, I mean, I don't know what is the craze of people rushing out. I mean, I've seen people going in malls and all that. I mean, there were a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly speaking, I mean,
No, no, I
you're
completely
not going
agree.
to die if you don't go to mall.
Yes, yes, yes. And malls are not that necessary for us. I mean, it's not that we can't live without malls and we can't live without
Yes.
food outside and things like that. But my concern is that why we are, playing with media right now, because there are a lot of things coming in the media and that gives a different perspective to the viewers basically, and they think that everything is safe, everything is okay. That's what the politics are saying. I mean, politicians come say everything is fine, and then on the other side of the news, it says that now we have a spike of 20,000 people every day. So there is no balance of communication. Someone is talking about A and someone is talking about B, which is not matching it up. That is what my problem is.
So that is what see. The problem with politicians at the moment is, though I'm no spokesperson for them, but the problem is what they're trying to do is they're trying to balance out the economics of it and their popularity on that. Unfortunately, PR activity at this time, I don't think that it's going to help anyone, right?
Yeah.
Neither them also, because
Yeah,
if they get into this PR activity module, see, I mean, America has an election. It is understood that their president and the main nominee against the president will go all guns blazing at each other, and everyone will use this pandemic as a, kind of tool in the election, right?
Right.
India also has a couple of elections coming up, so there is going to be this, jib jab, I mean,
Yeah.
kinds of jabs and salvos fired at each other, right? But that's what it is. That's the nature of the beast. You can't help it.
Yeah.
But what we need to understand is, my humble request to all the doctors also is that they should also be very serious on this, because I've seen certain posts from certain doctors also downplaying it. I don't think you should downplay this disease.
yeah, true.
this disease should not be downplayed at any cost.
Yes.
So, I
We
mean,
should
on
be
one
happy.
hand, you're telling, yeah, on one hand, we are telling that all is okay, you take precautions.
Yeah.
See, if all is okay, then precautions, I mean, see,
Yeah.
it's a oxymoron. So you're
Right.
telling basically people that all is okay, but on the other hand, take precautions. I mean, how
Take
can
because
that all is not okay?
yeah.
All
All
is not.
cannot be okay till you get away with this virus. I mean, either you have a cure for it, or you have a vaccine for it, or maybe you plump it into submission, or the virus itself decides that okay, I've had enough with humans, I want to go.
Yeah.
So
But
all is not okay.
there is another factor, in because as Ankit said, we really don't need malls. We can shop at home, but there's a psychological need for that. People need to be out and see other people. They need to be seen, and so when they say all systems go, people rush out, and
So that's what I am telling you, Jim. That see in a city, in a in a New York, it's going to be different, right? But then you have all different states, different councils, different neighborhoods, right? So I mean, you see, you need to work it around. You need to understand that you need to work around. It does not mean that you're not going to see your neighbor. You can,
yeah,
maybe you can have a word with him on from the terraces. Maybe
exactly.
you can have Sunday barbecues where you barbecue on your house, they barbecue on their house, and maybe you can just sit around and I mean have a chat with them from a distance.
From a
Yeah.
distance, we do that
Yeah.
now. My wife and I. We have our
So
neighbors over.
there is a lot of getaways. See, in India, maybe this is going to be difficult, but in a country like America, I don't think this is an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except
Obviously.
maybe those very congested areas like I mean,
Manhattan, New York, maybe, but apart from that,
yeah. So that is maybe
countryside, it's good, baby. And you
the
have a big
countryside is
takeaway
beautiful.
even across
America is a beautiful country. You see good blue skies there,
yeah,
Yes,
good
but there's
grass,
also in income
beautiful countryside.
inequality, and the poorest people are packed together the most dense. So this is why we're seeing the COVID hitting those people that do not have the economic resources to have a backyard that they can invite their neighbors into and keep distant. You know,
So that
they're crowded.
see,
but Jim,
I'm telling
you
you,
know
Jim.
that
The biggest thing is, please understand, the people from the deprived class are also as scared. In fact, they are going to be more scared,
Yes, they
right?
should be.
And number, they will never go into this socializing thing because they know that if they fall ill, then they are doomed. So please understand, this thing is going to happen with more with the affluent class rather than with the deprived people on that. I'm not talking about the disease. I'm talking about their sense of entitlement because they themselves know that they are not doing financially well. Tomorrow, one of them falls ill, it is going to be an uphill task. I think the message to should go down to them very clear that I mean you should take it very very seriously.
yes.
If they get this, if you drive this message into their head, I am sure they're going to take double the amount of precaution than what they generally are taking. And this, I believe, holds true for India also, because I believe the message is not being driven home hard. So, as Ankit said, that in media channels you have a diabolic thing going around. I mean, one hand they're telling everything is okay, the other hand they're telling. So, it's a confusing signal. You
Yes.
don't
So
need to
I'll tell
give
you sir,
confusing
what happened.
signals in epidemics.
So I'll tell you sir what happened once basically. So I was doing the show, and Roberto, one of our attorneys from Italy, he was there on the show live, and then my television was live on mute, and on Times now it says that there's a new vaccine which Italy launched, and he's from Italy. So I asked him, "Did you release the vaccine?" He said, "What vaccine? We don't know. We are still waiting for it. If you have it, send it to me." So I've showed them that we are sharing on our media that Italy have launched a successful vaccine, and he said that these are bullshit because everyone wants to talk about something and they are creating a news out of nowhere. Everyone is in a trial mode. I mean, there might be a lot of companies who are talking about trials and things like that. But until and unless we don't come out with the trials, why we have to talk about the vaccine every day? because you are giving a lot of hope to people that it should come in next few weeks or next few months, and that is the problem. And that's why, you know what happened in India. I don't want to name it, but something happened in India because of it's kind of a race going on that I will release it first and that person will release it second and things like that. So I don't know what is that
So
rat
this
race.
is why, Ankit, it is very important that we need to understand. Yeah, so we need to understand that, see, you may have a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But at the moment you're not seeing that light.
True.
Right? So we should be, see, something is what is known as common sense and what is the situation at the moment. Right? Why are we living in a fantasy world telling this is going to happen, that is going to happen? I mean, you don't know what is going to happen.
True.
Can you or Jim or me sitting here at this moment predict what is going to happen tomorrow? So nobody can. So ultimately, if we cannot do that prediction, why get into this? See, I'm telling you, positivity is good, but positivity bordering on to fantasy levels and to eccentricities and those kind of idiocy is entirely different. I don't agree with that.
And
I do
without
believe
fact,
that we should keep people positive, but that does
Yeah.
not mean that we make them, I
Delusional.
mean, into a Wayne's world where they're thinking that, yeah, that kind of illusions are not, science according to me, and
Jim,
they're not
Jim,
in, I won't even
Jim,
endorse them.
I'll tell you one more instance. I think Dr. Tulla knows about it. So there is a
Yeah.
medicine which I have asked Dr. Tulla that is it for COVID or not. I won't say the name, but then what happened is that it got spread in WhatsApp University in India so much that the share price of that company goes up 40%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know that the share price of that company
Yeah.
goes 40%?
So this is what the tragedy is, that we need to understand that, doing business, it's okay. At the expense of a pandemic, now I don't know what to say on that, because I believe ultimately, ethics on, this is an absolutely different debate to talk about ethics of companies and all that. I don't know how ethical companies are and they are not, but I do believe that at the end of the day, the impetus is also on the doctors, that they should be sending the right signals to the community.
True.
And they should be in reinforcing these signals. Please understand, I as a doctor cannot say that this disease is never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
You've seen what has happened to a lot of our colleagues also. Ankit, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So there is nothing like this cannot happen to me. It can happen to me. It can happen to anyone. Despite precautions also, because you need to understand that it is a scenario where you lose sight of one mistake on your side.
True.
And if your luck is on the other side, you will end up getting hurt on this.
Certainly. And also, sir, what I've realized is that over a period of time, we have learned a lot about COVID and how to protect and things like that. But we are still not talking about prevention, because today is COVID, tomorrow may be something else. But if you don't prevent it, if you don't take the right precautions from today onwards, we are not able to save ourselves for future pandemic as well. So the precaution or the best practices should be carried forward for number of days. Basically, social distancing should be must. And you should have your own mask. If you don't wear a mask in normal days, that's fine. But there should be mask for everyone necessary, because I think there are a lot of viruses and disease and also pollution level going up everywhere now and then. And the mask will protect you. Everyone have a mask for a mobile phone. Why can't we have a mask for ourselves?
Yeah. So that is unfortunately what the unfortunate part is. That health was always the last priority on anyone's mind.
Yeah.
So this pandemic has basically woken people up from slumber. Yeah. And if despite this also people are not looking into it and not seeing it, I don't know what will be required to shake them up.
Well, Dr. Tulla, you live in India. I live in the divided states of America. You're a doctor. I only play one on TV, IBM TV. But what I see is that France, Germany, Italy have all got their curves not only flattened but lowering. And I see in our country that the spike is continuing. The rise is going like a hockey stick in the wrong direction. And I wonder what your thinking is when you can see that in other countries, them handling it, and in my country, we are not. What do you attribute
So,
that to?
Jim, it's not that all are not adhering to the plan, right? So I see a lot of Americans also who are very, very committed to. I mean, see, I mean, you are all Americans. You are American. Kim is American. Jim, I mean, you are. I mean, you are also Americans. Huh? You're any no less Americans than any other Americans, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
Nick, right? Everyone is an American, right? Now you are also, I mean, so I do agree that maybe you will be the 40% of population or 50% of population which will be adhering to the norms. So maybe there is a 20-30% population which is not adhering to the norms, right? But majoritarily, I believe that the Americans are also smart people. They will not get into this rut of, I mean, the politicians getting into the slumber and they agreeing with the politicians. I mean, they will agree with the politicians a lot on the policies and all, but medicine, I'm not very sure. Your country is very much dependent upon the politicians. I don't think. I mean, Americans are smart people. They know their choices well. My only thing is maybe down the line, what has happened is that I mean the communication to the people who are the most vulnerable, that is not going right. One, and the other thing what I feel basically is missing the trick, where you are missing the trick. I mean, I'm no one to sermonize you on that, because I mean India is also not doing that great. So honestly speaking, we are also floundering on a lot of count. But in your country, what is happening is basically that people are believing this thought, that they have this in their mind, back of the mind, that this will not happen to me. So unfortunately, unless and until you get rid of that thought that it's not going to happen to me, you are going to throw precautions in the way.
But do you think that that's the case in Germany, that they figured, well, it could happen to me, and in America we're
So
thinking it
Germany,
can't happen
no,
to me?
the Germany also, in the initial period, Germany also was not doing that well,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
But then you see what happens is Germany is a very contained. See, Germans. See, I have had the pleasure of knowing Germans a lot, right? So Germans are very different. They're a very different subset of people. I consider them to be one of the very different subset of people, because please understand. So if you know a German, you will know that it's a typical thing with Germans, that if you go to a German's house and you look at their lawn will be absolutely manicured. That means not one grass will be, if it is of 0.5 inch, all the grass will be of 0.5 inch only. So they are very finicky when it comes to this,
But then what
right?
about the French and the Italians?
Yeah, so Italians were the worst hit, because the reason was the typical Italians are, I would say, they have a cultural thing which is common with us Indians also. They are also very happy-go-lucky kind of people who will like to wine, dine a lot and mix up. They love that their closeness and hugs and kisses with each other, right? And French are also somewhat biased on that. Now what happens in French is that once they had the lockdown, and people have also started realizing that the social distances is important, so they, even their prime minister is giving out the right posturing. You see him doing this, he never shakes hands with anyone. So their posturing is also right, in that sense that they're trying to send home a message. It's not that they're out of the dumps. They're not out of the dumps at the moment, but they're doing fairly better than as compared to. And then look at the population difference also. Of course there's a population thing also. So I mean, and then they have their own challenges with a lot of asylum seekers who are not financially very well off. So there are pockets of that also which is happening with them also.
Very true.
But at the end of the day, every country has its own challenges. They're struggling. They will have their up days. They will have their down days. But there is a simple thing that, I mean, Jim, unless and until people use their common sense, you can't do much. Now, I mean, common sense is the basic thing. Three things which are required, you just need to do them. I mean, you'll the chances of your remaining safe increase. That is what you need to do. And I don't know what takes, I mean,
But
what is
you were just saying that the French prime minister was doing this, and he was leading by example. And maybe that's what we need in the United
See,
States.
Jim, I believe you people in America are a evolved lot, right? So you are much more better evolved when it comes down to this part, because you don't need leaders. You make leaders.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I right or wrong there? So I
We
am telling you, you make leaders. You don't need leaders. You don't need. See, some countries
Well,
have
I
a
do.
habit of worshipping their leaders, right? America never had that habit of worshipping their leaders. I mean, I've never had a person, I mean, an American friend. I have never seen an American friend who will be vocal. I mean, they will all be vocal about the presidents. They might like certain things about their presidents, but they will be equally, I mean, on the flip side, they will also tell that this guy didn't do this right, that right, right? I mean, more other countries always look upon their leaders and put them in pedestal, right? I believe only a couple of your presidents you have put in pedestals, and that too not fully. Maybe an Abraham Lincoln, I would say you have put him on some kind of a pedestal, or a George Washington. I don't remember any other president which you
And
have
that's
put on
it.
a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
So you are people who make leaders. You don't follow leaders. That's what the whole story with you is,
that's a
and
big
that is why you are
point.
America. That is
That's
why you are America. You are you're the best.
Help me out,
I mean,
Kimberly. He's winning.
well, and a good point there when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So, and I think that's our problem right now is we've not had one good, strong leadership to set the example, and I think that's some countries are doing fine, but it's kind of like the United States. We're so divided that everybody's kind of doing their own thing. That until we've united each other, and I think globally, we're not going to win this war. It's just going to continue eating at us because, everyone said, yeah, we're all going to get COVID eventually, but that's not going to be the end of it. And it's just like a lot of the viruses that we have had in our past, like malaria, the flu in 1918. The flu we never found a cure for it. It's still here, but we learned to live with it. And, excuse me, I have a problem with the vaccines because how do they come up with a vaccine before the flu hits? All right, anybody got an answer to that? How do they know what the flu is going to be like? Here, we're going to give you this shot in September. Make sure you get your shot in September because we know that October, November, and December, this particular flu is going to hit. How do they know that? So I just have a problem with the way all of this has been handled. I don't think that there's any one vaccine and ever will be. I think what we need to do is what Dr. Markowitz and you and all the other doctors, because I just spoke with him, all the doctors have told us, build our immunity. Ta-da! Use common sense. Like Dr. Tulla says, use common sense. I mean, and here's what bothers me. In 1918, we discovered that if we wore masks, we would not spread the disease as bad. We would control it, right? How important is it to control when something goes like a wildfire? Yeah, so what? Not everybody's going to die, but the whole situation is you don't want to overwhelm the medical people. We don't want to overwhelm them with everyone being sick at one time. We want to control this. I don't believe in the herd immunity. I believe in controlled immunity. Because if you control the immunity, then maybe less fatalities, right? We'll be able to go back to work. I mean, maybe if we just say, okay, everyone in this area, we're going to go ahead and get you sick with COVID, right? And we're going to monitor it. We're going to treat it. Now we're going to go over here. I mean, but something more controlled because the medical people cannot handle the volumes that are hitting them at the front door right when it goes crazy. But think about malaria. Did they ever find a cure for malaria? No. What did we do? We learned how to live with it. We learned to identify when it's the wildfire starting to grow, and we treat it, right? We isolate and treat. Isolate and treat. HIV, did we find a cure? No. We learned how to treat it, and we learned how to live with it and how to prevent it. All right. But does it mean that people are smart enough to follow all of those rules to prevent it? No. But does it mean some people accidentally get it? Yes. All right. Malaria, chickenpox, measles, all of these things still exist in our lives. Right? So the same with COVID. I don't know why we can't be smart enough like we were in 1918 when they said wear a mask to prevent the spread. We all just put on masks. Because I look at photos from back then, and if you take a look, I mean, it's beautiful. It's not beautiful in the fact that so many people died. 50 million people died. But let me see if I can find the photos again. I shared them in the last show. Hold on just a second. Let me pull them up. But I think what's beautiful about this was everyone respected everyone enough not to want to get anyone sick. And everyone pulled together in the United States and in the world, not just the United States, because you can see in the world in these photos. But this is what people did. There you go. Easy, right? Everyone.
You even had street workers.
Yeah, I like this. Why? Because they do color and not color. I don't know how they do that, but here you go. Right, you've got people signing declarations. This is church, right? We did not go in the church facilities. But look, the street people, they wore their masks. Okay,
And they have a hand glove as well, Kim. Apart from mask, they have covered the body completely to make sure that they won't contain or spread anything out of it.
well, and wool, if you think about back then, there was a lot of wool products, right? And wool is very thick, breathable. So, but look, even your barber would wear and of course, this isn't color, it should have been black and white, right? They're doing these coloration things. Somebody's bored and having fun, but take that into consideration. The clothing, I think that's where fashions came from back in the day. A lot of times you would see where the women's clothes would get wider. Maybe it was truly designed for, protecting it, distancing, being distant. But exactly, look, he wore gloves, right? I don't think they wore gloves because it was cold. I think they wore gloves because they knew it was safer. And again, we learned over time, not everybody knows how to manage PPE, so they might take the gloves off wrong and get contaminated. Wash your hands a lot. That was something else they learned back then. Wash your hands a lot. But if we take a look at history and use some common sense, like Dr. Tulla says, and I like his idea. I always think about putting ice on my head when I get angry about something now. But look, there was no second thought. No second thought. What do I do to save the world? It wasn't about me. It was about we and us. So look, nobody complained I can't breathe. People just put them on and did their job. Right. And that's the common sense, but common courtesy. And I'm going to get masks printed with "I love you." I'm wearing this because I love you. I respect you. Because I'm not being shamed to wear it. I'm wearing it because I respect you, and I don't want to make you sick if I'm sick. Why do doctors wear masks in surgery?
So there are three reasons for it. One is that we don't in surgery. What happens is, this is a customary thing which was happening for a period of time, because initially we started with the drugs which were used for anesthesia were basically ether. Now ether, if you know, it gives fumes, right? So you did not want to take the fumes, otherwise you would have passed out yourself, right? That was number one, right? Number two was that we used to use those cauteries which had smoke coming out. So we did not want the fumes to go inside our mouths, and this was happening. Third reason was definitely a risk of passing infections to others, right? So we did not want to pass infections to others. So that is one reason. And the fourth was, even if some blood sputter or something came and it hit us, so the chances of contamination would have been. So this was just it's a kind of barrier which was sold in those days, and the customary practice has evolved and it has continued till the day. The masks have become better, lighter. Initially they had cloth masks, then we developed fibers and all that. So the masks have also come a long way. The
Yeah.
only thing what I really believe at the end of the day is, I mean, see, honestly speaking, posturing from politicians, I mean, if they do it, excellent. If they're not doing it, then what? See, I mean, see, you will have divisions right down the middle in a country, any country for that matter, any country will have political affiliations and divisions. Now, what the country needs to do is that make a basic common minimum program. You can fight your asses out for politics. You can hit each other for politics in the streets, no problem. I don't have any issues with that, right? Not that I am propagating violence. What I'm trying, but
I
the
get
baseline has to be straight. I mean,
Yeah.
health you cannot have a different policy.
I
So I believe that that is the only thing which you should be doing is that the health remains static.
Yeah.
Politics continues. Your barbs on politicians continue. You
Yep.
may be a Democrat, you may be a Republican, you can spar over that like anything. But health remains non-negotiable.
But our health is one thing, and getting that communicated is another. And what makes common sense and what the health professionals are telling us is one thing, and what's being communicated to people turns out to be conflated with all these different messages. And so people don't know what to believe, even though it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple, and it does come down to common sense. We are bombarded with different messages, and for
So,
me,
so my take here is that at least two, three basic things should be made mandatory, either by legislation or whatever, right? And that starts from neighborhood, because I don't believe a country. I mean, you will have political divisions, and one political group may have a different idea, the other political group may have a different idea,
right,
and both of them are never going to agree. It's never going to be this. It's
right,
always going to be this. It's not
right,
going to be this for sure. So what the
right.
neighborhoods can start doing their own system, that okay, it is mandatory to wear masks in these, otherwise we'll have fines. They can impose fines, or they can do one thing is that if people don't wear masks, try to name them, shame them, whatever the way it is. Because see, desperate times will require desperate measures. You need to, I mean, you need to be very proactive in this disease. You cannot have a wait and watch policy, which I guess all governments all across the world are doing. They're having a wait and watch policy. Let's see how it goes for a week, then we'll decide this. I mean, this kind of knee-jerk reaction is not going to help us.
I
You
agree.
need to have a straight standard policy framed. Of course, the parameters of the policy can keep on changing, but your base work should be simple and straightforward. And the messaging has to be prompt and clear. You cannot have diabolical messaging, or I mean messaging where you're conveying something but the message going across is something different.
But you're describing what's logical, and it's not what I see. Because the message in my state is consistent and clear. In my county, it's consistent and clear. In my city, it's consistent and clear. But if I go one state over to Arizona, it's not. It's not the same. If you go over a couple more states to Texas, it's incredibly bizarre what the messaging is there. And you keep going and over to Florida, and it's back and forth, up and down, and who knows what. So that's why I say it's the divided states of America now. It's not united. We're not all together on this. And I think these, if you go online to the family.dollarstore.com and buy these, it's inexpensive. There's no reason not to have them. And I think that this message should be just consistently stated by all governors. It shouldn't matter what state you live in. Everybody should be saying the same thing, but we're not. We're not hearing the same thing depending on where you are, where you live. So I know you can't answer this question.
I really believe that ultimately, see, over a period of time, people will realize, one, they're expecting too much that it's going to go away quickly, which is not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I'm no soothsayer, I can't
Yeah.
predict. But then at the end of the day, by the looks of it, it doesn't seem going anywhere. The
Right.
sooner we realize it, the better it is. And I guess good sense will prevail. I really believe that, I mean, humans are the most smart people, and if they start acting like the most dumb ones in the species hologram or the hierarchy, then I think we deserve it. I
Right.
can't say more than that.
Are you
We really
invoking
deserve it.
Darwin now? Are you invoking Darwin? And
Yeah,
Darwin.
so I mean, so supposedly we are supposedly the most smartest in the species, and if a dumb-wit virus can outwit us, then I don't think we even deserve to be there.
Well, I agree with you, but we have a saying in Texas: you can lead a horse to the water. It's up to him to
Yeah,
drink.
but you can't make it drink.
So
Yeah,
if they don't drink it, then they're going to die. And the thing is that people are just, we can give them as much knowledge as we can, and I think that's been the big problem is media kind of took over and drove this. Politicians were driving this, not physicians or actually, honestly, infectious disease doctors should have been in charge. We should have, every country should have put their infectious disease doctors in charge of a pandemic, because they know how to deal with things like this. And proof of that is 93 Days. Watch the movie. It's one of the best stories, true stories ever about controlling epidemics. And it's free on IBM TV. It's free actually on YouTube, but we kind of pre-sort movies and put them on IBM TV that we think are good for people to watch. But honestly, it doesn't take, like you said, it doesn't take rocket science. It takes common sense. And
are you saying that you have to have 93 days to watch the movie?
no,
Sorry.
the movie is 93 Days.
It's the name of it. Oh, okay.
Okay. Danny Glover is a lead actor.
I like Danny Glover.
Everybody loves Danny. So it's not Bollywood, but it is a very good quality of acting. I just, what I like about the story is they didn't allow politicians to get in the way.
But
Because
Kimberly,
you see them throwing their weight, and they're going to know we're going to control this before it gets out of control. And
yeah, but Kimberly, we just had a senator this week come out and say, "Don't listen to the experts."
which one was it?
Rand Paul from what is he? He's Kentucky or Tennessee, but he came on, and he's a libertarian. He's not a Democrat or Republican so much. He really doesn't believe in the Ayn Rand theories, and he's telling people, yeah, these experts are telling you to do this, but don't listen to the experts. What do they know? And that's the basic message. And there's a lot of people that think that, and that's one of the things about the rugged individualism that we're all born with, and the anti-intellectualism that's part of our culture as well. Is maybe the experts, like Barack Obama, man, he sounded so smart and intelligent. He was talking down to me, and so I don't like that. I like a guy that talks like I talk, and
Like a guy that puts you down, not.
yeah. Disabled people. Yeah.
But Jim, what we realize is that over a period of time around the world, that we have a social media power where anyone can come on social media and share anything. So we should have some kind of classes to make sure that whatever you are saying as an influencer, it should affect someone as well. Maybe you are talking something positivity to someone else, but that might affect to someone else. And people, because you are an influencer, you can influence anyone. And by saying something down or wrong, it might affect the society and the world, and especially during pandemic. So maybe there should be some kind of guidelines or special classes to make sure how to behave or how to share your views and thoughts in front of media, which is something very important, because in our society as well, politicians just join the show whenever they want, and they can talk about anything.
Yeah, I believe that, Ankit. That's how I live my life. And I also believe that Dr. Tulla believes that. And he's saying that by influencing each other, by everyone that we come in contact with, we can have an influence on them. and that it will spread that way, not top down, but from
Yes.
the bottom
So
up.
Jim, it has to be inwards outward.
Yeah.
So you need to understand it has to go this way, not from there to here.
I agree.
Right? And America, mark my words, makes leaders. You don't worship leaders.
No, and
That's a
I
that's
have
a
to
hallmark
believe that.
difference between you and a lot of other people.
I have to
The other
believe.
communist countries and all, they all worship leaders.
Leaders, yeah.
Judas, and I,
That's
Dr.
very
Tulla,
true.
I think
That's
you
very
made
true. That's why we have a $1 billion question that who is the next leader?
But I think you made a very profound statement about the United States, and maybe that's our biggest problem. But Jim, you bring a good point there. We got senators who are discrediting valuable information out there. But this is me, right? If I want to do something, I'm going to surround myself with people who are experts in those things. Right? Just like Sasha does, or just like you do. I'm not going to try to do everything myself. And I think that's been the biggest problem is nobody out there decided that someone else would be smarter than them. They all decided, well, I'm the smart one. I'm going to make all the decisions rather than sitting there going, I have no idea what an infectious disease is and how it spreads. I'm going to hire somebody to do that for me. Just like when I want to kill roaches in my house, I'm going to hire somebody to kill the roaches. I'm not going to go do it myself because I might kill myself doing it. Like Dr. Tulla said, some fumigation thing, like even, the gas can kill me, right? So, you got to be careful. You got to be smart about these things, but I'm not going to go perform heart surgery on myself when I'm having a heart attack. Okay. I'm going to hire a doctor to do these things for me. So, and when I run a business, right, I hire experts in those areas that I need areas covered in that I'm not smart in. And that's what a good leader does. Okay. A good leader doesn't say, I can do everything and control everything and I have all the answers. A good leader hires those people. So either our leader failed to hire the right people to tell him how he should manage through the situation, or he didn't hire the right people, right?
Or he fired the wrong people.
Or he fired the people, right, who could have led us out of the situation. But if it were me and I were running my company and a pandemic of some sort hit, I would go out and hire the pandemic team. Even if I fired them, I'd call them and go, what is it going to take to get you back? It's no brainer. You put smarter people around you and you surround yourself with the people that are smarter than you.
Well, Kimberly, our country was founded in Philadelphia, and so I think Philadelphia is where we need to turn to solve these problems. So
what to say,
Lynn, Lynn, look, I want Lynn to come on and tell us what we should do.
So what are you? So read that to us, Ankit.
I think Dr. Tulla understand with the headline that what is sadhana.
There is a lot of comicry which is going around in the newspapers, Indian newspapers nowadays. So it is good comic stuff which is happening.
Yeah.
So
they say humor is how you engage people to think about doing the right thing, right? That's how they said that they used humor to make us think about vaccines. Okay, what is this? Rizzo's to 72. What? Ex-wife is second richest woman.
So the story going on is that Bios he gave around some $50 billion to his wife, and now he's back to. So the earlier high was 167, now it's 172. More than $5 billion what he was. He offered to his wife. So if you combine both the things, it's around somewhere around $200 billion. It's the combined wealth.
Wow. So, that people don't know the true story behind him is that she's the one who convinced him to start the company, and she's the one who pushed it. Well, if it was not for her, he would have never had that company. So,
he's a great man.
So it just tells you that women are smarter any day. Always listen to women. Listen to women.
Us,
Look at the countries. Look at the countries who have women leaders at the moment. They're doing much better than men at the helm.
That's so true.
New Zealand.
And
New
Dr. Tulla,
Zealand.
that's why we have Kimberly. I mean, she's running
Yeah.
IBM TV
So,
from
so
the
look
front
at
end, and we are all the people behind.
Yeah.
That's why I have Nick. He's a lawyer because you never know what I'm going to say. You know, when Nick and I first met and he asked me to be on the show, I was with my lawyer at the time and I asked Nick, what am I not allowed to say? Because I know how I can get, right? But here's the thing, Dr. Tulla, you say something, and I had thought about, because you brought this up before, and I was thinking about that this morning. Why is it that women that have women around countries are doing so much better and healthier? And I think it's because we give birth, right? And for the most,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I have a theory for that also. So
okay,
I'll tell you one definitely women are more smarter. There is no doubt about it. I really believe that, right? Number two is they are more inclusive.
exactly.
They generally have a habit of including, right? Number three, they will have a good decision. I mean decision making discussion before they act, right? And with them generally it is not about me too. It's not me,
That's right.
I. It is always we. So generally,
Generally.
women, when they speak, is we did this, we did that. It is not I did this, I. So that is the difference which makes. And I mean, just look at the countries where women leaders are there. Look what's happening with them.
Very, very different. And I think you're right. And I think that we just have that maternal instinct to want to not survive ourselves, but to make sure that life around us survives, because we do give birth and we don't want to give birth and have our babies die and have an environment where they're not. And if you look at nature in general, women, the female, they're always that nurturing agent. They're making sure the environment's safe for the babies.
Yes.
And the father helps too. You know, the fathers bring the food. I watch it in my backyard lately. It's like really cool, right? The male birds go out and get the worms and bring them back, and the mama is taking care of the nest. But there's that maternal instinct. But I think you're right. We're more inclusive. And we want survival for different reasons, right? And but I think that it takes a combination no matter what. And it takes a combination. This is what I came up conclusive of this morning is like minds, right? Because I'm with a bunch of different guys on this show with Ann Kit and you and Jim, but we all have this like mindset. We respect people. We care. We are concerned about whether people live or die. It's not about the wealth. It's about we can recover wealth. We can't recover health. And I think, you know, all of these senators and leaders who were saying, well, it's just a few people are going to die, big deal. That's not the mindset you
We're going to
need.
get our hair mussed a little.
Yeah.
That's from Dr. Strangelove. But I want to say that I've always, and I want to talk about me. I always tell men when the two most important words after I do are yes, dear.
Right.
And Lynn, can you back me up on that?
Dr. Tulla, do you like that?
Yeah, I love Jim like anything. I mean, see, the smile on his face tells him that he's a happy man. And for being a happy married man, he has to really love his wife and respect her. And that's what shows on his face. I mean, you see it on his face. Every day when you see Jim in his new floral shirts, you realize that
Yeah.
And you know what?
that's what love
And
makes
Dr.
a man do, right?
And Dr. Tulla, there is a saying in India that a good employee is the one who follows the rules in office as well as at home.
Yeah, rules it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? I got my napkins for the weekend.
Uh-oh. How about
She got bigger ones than me,
I
Lynn.
want to send some to India, so now that we can mail stuff if they haven't banned us, I'm
How
going
about
to.
your
You got
mask?
bigger ones than I did. I
How
didn't know
about your
they were
mask?
large size.
Or
Yeah, there's different sizes.
No,
But I also,
I
you
ordered
know,
the small one.
my box came in today, so I got my box of masks and
Good.
Family Dollar Store.
That's right. I want people to know that, you know, of course, you know, I got to get my face masks. The other important mask, right? My face maintenance. Of course, we had a great person on the show the other day, but Dr. Tulla, he can respect. I know that I want to take very good care of my skin and my face. And during COVID, it's weird. It's like my habits have changed. You would think I would establish even more better habits, but I've kind of went the reverse way. And
That's common.
Is
That's
it?
common. That, you know, because we're facing new things and we're not reacting in the same ways. We can't have the same habits that we used to have, and we're not replacing them with good habits all the time.
Yeah, I know. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't go eating bad foods. I really stayed away from
Good for you.
the bad junk foods, and I really forced myself to buy a lot of more fruits and vegetables than normal. But staying at home because I wasn't traveling as much, I told myself this is an opportunity that I can eat healthier for once, rather than traveling all the time and depending on whatever food I can get my hands on. I'm able to control that. So I've been very that way good, but like all my other habits of, you know, face maintenance and exercising kind of went out the door. And but
I wanted to ask Lynn, I did buy something else on the dollar store, and I bought these. And what are they for?
Well, aren't those are they Velcro?
They're Velcros. Yeah.
Well,
I thought they could hold my glasses on, but they can't do that.
Yeah, sure they can.
Tim, I have an answer.
Yeah, you put them. Yeah, you put them on the sides, right on your ears, and then you put the Velcro on the top of the of your glasses. And when you put your glasses on, they'll stick to your ears and they won't fall. Now we might need Dr. Tulla to be able to get the Velcro off of your ear, once you put it on, but that's okay. You know, he might even be able to do a virtual operation to help you do it.
Get the line out first, and then he can work on my ears.
I just want to chime in and tell you something my daughter often says about women, and she talks about the fact that both hemispheres of the brain with women are connected, and with men they're not. That's what basically she says. And therefore, it's easy for women to process back and forth from both sides. But with men, we tend to only process on one side. So I have to ask Dr. Ahuja and Dr. Tulla, is that really true?
So see, there is a lot of difference between women and men per se, right? My personal, leave my personal thing aside, because I have always been a very great proponent for women, because I always believe that, see, it comes from the family backgrounds also. So we in our houses have seen that our mothers were always very, proactive. My dad was also, when I was growing up, we used to listen a lot to my mother, take sound advice from her. This continued in our families. So, there is a lot of family thing also which comes into the cultures also. There are certain cultures where you don't listen much to women. And generally, what I've seen over a period of time is that, see, you need to understand that women, leave aside the soap operas, which always tell them to be some kind of conniving and some kind of scheming ladies. Yeah. Right. Generally, women are much, much, much smarter. And I believe that, as Kimberly said, if you look at look at the other species also. Look at elephants; they are headed by a female. And I don't think they do bad. I don't think they do bad at all.
So I think women are smart. I think that history books were written against us over the years, right?
So I presume it was a male bias. It was a bias, right? Because see,
also, Tulla, I think that there are more male historians earlier than female historians, and that's why written like
one reason. One reason is that also. See, there is a lot of things. History teaches us a lot, but it also tells us that what we should not be repeating or doing. Unfortunately, I've seen what has happened over a period of generations is that we read history, but we don't take the message out of that history, and we again repeat the same old mistakes of that history.
Yes, we are.
We
So
do.
we just don't want to. I mean, I don't know what is. So I mean, sometimes I really wonder we are really that smart.
Well,
I now have started
I-
getting doubts upon the species itself. That are we a smart species? I think now I have got all kinds of doubts on the species itself.
I agree with you. I have to wonder sometimes where we're
People
going.
dump it. Virus has absolutely, I mean, spooked us out like anything.
This is why I tell people.
There is one conspiracy theory going around, and that is that coronavirus male or a female?
Ooh.
So now,
female, we're in trouble.
But
Yeah.
let's-
I
yeah,
think-
Taking
I don't even
I
taking
think-
consideration, taking
that
consideration of
doctor
the
that Dr. Sir will have to answer because I'm out of that.
Dr. Jack, what do you think?
Over to you.
since we are talking about the woman empowerment, so I would like to, I would like to go with the same way only. That definitely it's a female COVID. Belongs to the-
That's why it's so dangerous.
yeah, it is so.
Well, it's
And
like
you must have,
hurricane.
yeah, and you must be knowing the fact. The fact is, the COVID disease is almost 2 times more common and more lethal in the men as compared to the women. So again, the gender bias. Again, the gender bias.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. So we'll have to keep that in mind. I would have never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's a good point.
That means I have one more question. So, if we use a plasma of a woman, would that affect more than a male plasma for a treatment?
No.
So Ankit, you will be very surprised. In fact, see, today I was going through the paper that what are they telling about. So there was a very interesting one-liner in that women who have given birth to children, they are not candidates for donating plasma.
Oh,
Hmm.
So that is what I could read. I mean, I think Dr. Ahuja will put more light on it. I just could read that only. I first thought that it's a misprint, and I went through it again. Right. So I don't know. I mean, there must be some reason regarding the. So maybe
Woman of
either they have,
childbearing.
childbearing.
Please continue, sir.
please, sir.
Dr.
Please.
Tulla, please continue. Now,
So
I
said
understand.
maybe I thought. Yeah. Please.
Go ahead. That's
So what
interesting.
I understand from you is that you were telling about the women of childbearing age are not supposed to give the plasma. You mean to say?
Yes, that is what it was on the paper. If I'm not wrong, Ankit has a Times of India today with him, so he may be able to read that.
Just like me, he's got his book out.
Okay,
why would-
Dr.
in
Tulla,
In that, yeah.
are you listening to me?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
So,
Yes.
yeah. So what I have listened to from you is that you mean to say that the women, those who are from childbearing age group,
No, who have
Hello?
had children.
Have
Who have had children.
who have had children. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
That we're
No,
not
no.
supposed to give plasma.
No. I don't think so. It's in contraindication. The contraindications
So there
are
was some-
absolutely.
I also was taken aback with that, but maybe I'm not very sure. I think Ankit is reading that. He will have an idea on that. So it
Don't
was
believe
today in
everything you
the.
read. You can't believe everything you read.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
why would that be? Why would that be?
No, so,
Yeah,
so
we're all baffled by that.
it may be due to some antibodies regarding some. There are. When we give blood and all, there is also those antibodies which are responsible for certain kind of.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
I prescribe it to? It is related to certain kind of antibodies which should not go within women who are supposed to give birth to children. So maybe it is something that I'll get into that. Don't worry, I'll come back on that.
That's an
Because I'm not
interesting
very sure
topic.
whether I really read it that way. Because there was something to do with pregnancy. I don't know whether it was for accepting or whether it was for giving. So there was something to do with that.
Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting too.
Well, you do go through-
Pregnant females, it is understood. Pregnant females, it is understood. They will not be allowed to, give or.
But Dr. Tulla, before you go, I wanted to go back to your point about history, because history certainly forms us, but it can also inform us if we allow it to. And we have to pay attention to history and learn the lessons that it teaches us. But we're not very good at it yet. I think that maybe these pandemics are life lessons if we listen to the lesson.
I agree.
And-
I think
And to add to that female thing, I just want to put to you one
So
point
can
which
I?
science has
Can,
also
so, yeah.
proven. That is when a male fetus is born, that means a male child is born, and a female child is born. If you look at the survival rate, right, given that both are kept in the same kind of conditions, or let us say sub conditions, the chances of the female surviving for the first 3 weeks is going to be much more than a male. So
Wow. We're the
male
weaker
children
sex.
in the so they require more support during the early period, right? So that tells us that there is some amount of credence to the fact that, I mean,
that's interesting. That is. What do we find?
yeah.
Ankit?
So
Hold on, I'm
what
gonna
was
make
there,
it bigger.
Ankit?
Hold on.
Yeah. So in this, what is written for the females, Ankit?
Yeah, Ankit, can you enumerate? Ankit, can you
Can you
enumerate?
read?
Hold on.
read
Yeah, hold on. Make it.
It says that you cannot donate plasma if you are diabetic and insulin. Your blood pressure is more than 140, less than 60, or more than 90. You have uncomfortable diabetes or hypertension with change in medication in the last 28 days. If you are a cancer survivor, if you have a chronic disease, and a woman who has ever been pregnant.
Wow.
So
There it
that
is.
is something which caught my eye. Yeah.
That is surprising. I mean,
But I don't think so. Dr. Tulla, the article which I received from that is the letter from the LNJP, Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Hospital, that doesn't show that. That doesn't have it. I
So
don't know how.
this is in Times of India today, sir, if I'm not wrong.
today's
And
page number 2.
yeah, and this is with a photograph of the chief minister inspecting the. I think either they have written wrong or I don't know. I mean, they something.
Sir, you know that they know a lot of things which you don't know. So that's how they work. But on the other hand, Dr. Ahuja, there's one more news just beside that article which says trial on 400 patients at Lok Nayak to check the efficacy of plasma therapy.
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing: the plasma therapy is still the benefit of plasma therapy is still debatable. It's not a proven therapy.
Right.
It's not a proven therapy.
Right.
Still, the ICMR, which is conducting the trial, the results of those trials are still needs to be, published as well as to show to the public. Still, they are under consideration. They're not out right now. Even the NIH, US, still they have not said that it is a proven therapy. But yes, it has been shown to benefit of moderate to moderate patient. But still we are getting treated moderate patient in terms of giving the dexamethasone or methylprednisolone steroid. We're treating it very effectively. We're not giving any kind of plasma therapy to our patient in my hospital, but still we are getting it treated.
And Dr. Ahuja, I have read it in a lot of American and European articles.